because
That's a good
friends
question.
and family
Yeah.
will definitely put that pressure on you.
What about this person? What about that person?
Yeah.
Oh, don't you think he's cute? Isn't he a nice guy? Hey, bro, I think she bad, bro. You see it? Like, do you guys feel that pressure from family, friends?
For me, honestly, I think Asian people are really bad at that. Like they want you to get married really young, and they just want you to be married, period. But I'm really, really thankful because my family's not like that at all. So they've never felt me, like they've never put any pressure on me to get married. They've never put like an age tag of like, oh, you need to be married by this age, or you should, start at a certain age. So I haven't had any of that pressure at all. It's probably why I'm starting a bit later. But yeah, I haven't had any of that.
Okay. How about you, bro?
I don't think I've had that type of pressure. Obviously, there are more increasing talks about that. My parents have shown more interest about this for sure, but I don't think it's pressure, because I think maybe now that I'm saying this, I think pressure comes when that individual, right, is actively not wanting to pursue such a thing for whatever reason. Maybe for a career, maybe to just be single, have fun. And then I think that pressure comes. I don't think families, I mean, you really kind of look at it logically. I don't think families kind of put extra pressure on someone who's already trying to like think about it. They want it for themselves too, They're not just trying to be like
obnoxious about
it.
it.
You know what I'm saying? So I think pressure comes from the family side only based on how that individual is actually behaving and that mindset of that individual, because families at the end of the day, for the most part, especially even outside of our Christian faith, for the most part, they truly genuinely want what's best for you, and they love you and they care for you. And I don't think the family that really loves you and cares for you is going to try and indirectly or unintentionally try to put you down by putting more pressure on you for something that you're actually concerned about for yourself. You know?
So what I would have to say is that, like, Korean, I agree with you that families are generally for you and they want to do what's best for you. But, like, for the Korean culture, they think that marriage is what is best for you. So even if you're not against marriage, you want to get married, and you're pursuing that, but let's say you just haven't gotten married yet, they'll push you and pressure you, like, to the max. Like, I've even, someone reminded me recently that when we were watching Korean TV, and like this one celebrity's mom, like, she wasn't married and she was getting older, and her mom was like, you know what, I just want you to get married. Even if you get married and you get divorced right afterwards, like, you just need to be married. It's like, how sad is that, right? But that's how important marriage is for, like, I think a lot of Asian cultures, right?
Yeah, I mean, low-key, like, in I'm not from India. Okay, I just want to put that out there.
But you are
I'm
Indian.
not yeah.
Yes.
Bro, stop.
Yes.
You're Korean and you're not from Korea, are you? Come on now. Throw me under the bus. No, I'm not Indian. But, like, yeah, there's a lot of, like, families in India, and even the culture in India, it's probably the same way too. And I would say, unfortunately, more so for the girls than for the guys. I think the guys, at least for the Indian culture, the guys is more like they know they'll get a girl, because usually it's not like in arranged marriages, right? It's not they say it's arranged like two ways, but my understanding, the way I see it, is more like the girl's arranged for the guy, not the guy's arranged for the girl. You get what I'm saying? So I might be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I truly apologize. But But that's how I see it. And so I think there's more pressure on the females to get married than it is for the guys. Because and at the same time, in their defense, it's also because in their culture, it's more like the guy is more of the breadwinner. The guy is the ones that's actually going to go to work, provide for the family, blah, blah, blah. So he's got to be sorted out first, So he can wait a little more. There's a little more was leeway for him.
Yeah.
But for the girls, it's like they supposed, not my saying, right? There's a culture, supposed to kind of like stay home, wash the kids, clean the house, cook, and all that kind of stuff, so they can get married earlier.
Do you think
also, sorry to cut you off right
Yeah.
there. And also, I've heard this before too. Obviously, that age of, I think usually it's like, back then I think it was like 16 or something, like they get married that age. I think now it's a little bit more older, but still relatively young. But I've also heard the debate of fertility.
Yes, I was just gonna touch on that the biological clock
Yeah,
is ticking,
right.
and the older you are, supposedly the less likely or the harder it is
Right,
to conceive.
right.
Which there's
So-
some truth to that.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of truth to that,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
There's some truth to that.
Yeah.
So there has to be a balance.
Right.
Yeah,
And I think that's where some of the urgency may come
Yeah.
in for some families.
yeah.
So
'Cause that's what I always heard in my 20s. Like,
Right,
oh, when
yeah.
are you gonna have a baby? I'm like, wait, I don't even have a boyfriend, or, even from the
Yeah.
parents, when are you gonna make me a grandparent?
100%.
So
that's interesting. I
Wow.
think in our culture is different. As you said, in the Asian culture, being married, even if you get divorced,
Your culture is
grandkids. You gotta have babies.
Mhm.
Right.
You gotta give me
I
some
don't matter
grandbabies.
how you got the baby. You
Yeah,
just gotta get a
just-
baby.
Like, when you gonna give me some grandbabies?
Seriously.
So that's interesting how
But our parents
culturally-
are so willing to watch our kids too.
100%.
They love to have them there, and we'll be like, hey, you didn't let me do that when I was younger. So
Yeah.
they even get the grandbaby
I was
benefits.
funny side story that we should. No, we should say, but I just want to say it. Remember that time when we went to surprise my dad? I told him this story. We went to surprise my dad for his birthday, right before the conference. Right, we met at Viva Chicken,
Yeah.
and remember Zion was crying. He wanted some cake, the cake that
Yeah.
my dad's cake. He wanted some cake, and he was crying, man. And it's been a minute since I seen him. That was the first day, and like, obviously he's grown so much, and then he was still crying like that. And then I was like, man, bro, like, I was in my heart. I was like, bro, just give him the cake, man. and then Anthony was like, you both were like, no, like, we not giving him the cake,
Yeah.
And then I was like, sorry, kid, like, and then I heard my dad come in. I didn't know this till way after. Then he told me, my dad come and told him, like, brother, show some grace. And immediately a switch flipped, right? I was like, wait, where was this kindness when I was growing up? Like, I can see myself like having my son in that same situation, right?
Yeah.
And I can see myself actually like okay, you know what, like, I'll give him the cake,
Yeah.
And then my dad's so like, yes, good that you show grace. And I immediately will flip and like, you not getting no cake no more. You can blame your granddad for that. They know me. But yeah, anyways, aside from that, so we talk about urgency, we talk about pressure, age and all that. What do you think, obviously there's some general aspects that should not be, not aspects, but some requirements, if I can say that, that can't be substituted. But for you guys, what do you think is something that truly, on the very like heart level, should not and cannot be replaced? Yeah, because everybody's got preferences. Everybody's got not requirements and preferences are different. I feel like people kind of mix it up right now.
that's
You know,
different. That's
everybody's got preferences.
Mhm.
You know, everybody's got a type. Everybody's got this, that. But what for you guys? What are your requirements?
For me, my number one thing, growing in the Lord and maturing, is do our destinies coincide?
Right.
Our purpose. I've grown to understand the importance of that, because you can have all those other things, but for what God has called me to do, what God has called my wife to do those things actually go together? Is she going to help me in my pursuit of the Lord and my calling, and am I going to help her in that? I think for me, that's one of the things that was very, very important for me.
Yeah.
In my pursuit of marriage.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Same. Okay. Same. Who? What? Who's going?
Oh. Yeah. I'll say the same.
Mhm.
It's just definitely important because I just didn't want to go through the struggle of, and I see this often. You'll see women who desire for their husbands to follow Christ, go to church, serve the Lord, and how difficult it is for a woman to convince a man to come to the Lord. But then you'll see on the flip side, it may be a little more easier for a man to persuade the woman to come to Christ. So, and I think that kind of goes back to.
That's a whole other topic right there.
Oh, yeah. And I think that, again, goes back to another reason why it's not really in order for a woman to pursue a man. Because we're not called to sway y'all. We are supposed to follow you.
Be swayed.
Huh?
You're supposed to be swayed.
Yes.
Yeah. 100%.
And
I mean, not 100%, but I agree. That's what I'm going to say.
but there's a balance because both a man and woman can submit to each other.
Yeah.
But there's still order that is biblical. And so yeah, definitely, it definitely was a faith thing.
Yeah. What do you think?
So, well, what you just said about, like, yeah, the women. I feel like we hit those weird marriages where it feels like the wife is like the mom, and then the husband is the son. When you have that whole, where the woman is making her husband go to church, when she has to get him to do every single thing, and for the husband, yeah, that's not cool. For the wife, that's not cool either, because you're gonna have that frustration in you all the time. So I feel like it is important to set that up right in your dating. Like, just never take it there, so that when you go into marriage, it won't turn out like that either.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and also, sorry to cut you off, but I fully agree with what you said, and I've seen like over controlling females, wives, because even in the culture, like the Indian culture, right, there is that section of the flip side where, like, the guy is the one like going to work and all that, right, and has complete dominion. It's kind of funny, like, again, I'm so sorry, the Indian culture probably would have grown so much more, and I don't know about it, but from what I known from when I was very much younger, is that it's always the other extreme. It's always either the guy that's completely dominant over the wife, or the wife that's completely dominant over the husband. Even though it's always the exact scenario where the wives are usually the housewives, doing all the things at home, taking care of the kids. The guys are just going to work, getting the money, all that kind of stuff. But somehow, sometimes, there's still that flip side of the wives being completely dominant over the guys. And I used to think, like, what's wrong with this woman and what's wrong with this guy? At the same time, growing up, I realized that sometimes, for some people especially, it's not up to them, because sometimes their family situation, how they've been brought up, is such. Like, for a guy to not have a dad in his life, right, is like and let's say just say he's living with his mom, which I feel like there's so many things that are so like sus for me to say right now. But this is what we're here for, right?
Yeah,
Have
Yeah.
open conversations,
Yeah.
all right?
Be transparent.
100%. So, for a guy to not have a dad in his life, or at least a father figure in his life, and just living with the mom and consistently around females, that definitely does unconsciously, without him knowing, um, he's a little bit indecisive, can't make decisions
A
on
little
his
bit, a
own.
lot.
Yeah, like not so confident,
Yep.
second guessing. However, to give them credit to it, he will be a little bit more on the, most of the time, a little bit more on the affectionate side, right? A bit more affectionate, a bit more softer because he's
That's not
around.
always true.
Yeah, most of the time,
Yeah.
most of it, because a
Yeah.
lot of it depends on the
Yeah.
type of mom that you've been growing up
Yeah.
with, you know. And so sometimes I feel like it's a little bit unfair, and not just unfair but sad because a lot of like you can't like you like a guy, you like a girl, right? You can't control their family situation. Family
Right.
situation is already done, already
Right.
happened, right? And so how do you think like that would even pan out? Like would that cancel off? Because I know somebody in Dallas, right? She was seeing this guy and all that kind of stuff, and guy was just being weird, just being funny, okay? And then we went out to have dinner, and then I was dropping her home, and then she was asking me about this. What do you think about? She didn't say what do you think. She was just telling me like
About the situation.
about the situation, and I was very like, I was like scratching my head like, what's wrong with this guy, you know? Because she's a good-looking girl, you know. She got a good job, good age, everything matches up. Both families like each other, blah blah. So what's wrong with this guy? And then one of the last points that she went through was that he never lived with his dad. It was just his mom, and his mom has had a couple of divorces, and he's a complete like mama's boy and all that kind of stuff, and that kind of instantly clicked for me, and that was what I told her. I was like, well, like, you know, the guy's, it's not a mystery right now, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't mean any disrespect from people who, you know, some people truly have unfortunate circumstances that they're without their dad and all that kind of stuff, and by God's grace they're still absolutely perfectly fine, you know. But that definitely is a factor, and what I want to try and tie up with this as well, since the question is a bit similar, is let's say there are certain red orangey flags,
I was
right?
just gonna
Like
touch
like-
on those.
like red flags turning orange and then turning yellow and green. You know what I'm saying? And maybe it's in the orange part. Maybe the female or the male is being in the
Yeah.
orange part,
Yeah.
right? Of turning green, not turning red. Okay, turning green. What do you guys think? Do you guys want to walk them through it? Do you
First of
guys
all, I just
want
want to say I like that explanation of red, orange, green. I never looked at it that way.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say one thing about that. I've always heard this saying that everyone has baggage, and it's just how much baggage you're willing to carry. And I think that comes from God's grace and what God has put inside of you
Right.
for the person that He has designed for you.
Right.
And that's why it's important to be equally yoked with someone, because, you know, someone can come with a lot of baggage, and with the red flags,
So red.
but
okay.
God has given you the grace, and you may, where someone may not be able to deal with that, someone else has the compassion and
Right.
the empathy and
To strengthen you.
yes, yes. And it ties into what Anthony said, being with somebody that's going to encourage you and push you closer to the call that God has on your life. And a part of that is being able to help that person through that healing process, because I think in all of us there's some area that is broken that needs healing. There's something that's happened to us where we bring that into our marriage, and sometimes unbeknownst to even ourselves, that because I had said to myself like, oh man, I really don't have a lot of baggage. And then when I got married, I was like, oh man, I know Anthony's probably like, man, I didn't know, when we got married that, we'd be, housing, some of, my family, which we enjoyed doing, but, it wasn't something that we thought we would be doing when we first got married. And, but that made us stronger, and even helped us build a bond with, those that were with us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What do you think, Samantha? Orange flags?
So
Would you help him out? Would you leave him to fend for himself? Come back when it's green? What'd you say?
come back later. No, so it reminded me of like Joyce Meyer's testimony, her story. If you've heard her marriage, I think it's Joyce Meyer. Yeah, her husband, his prayer to God was always, send me a wife who needs a lot of help. I think that takes a lot. I mean, God must have planted that in his heart, because I mean, who wants somebody who needs a ton of help? And so that's who he got. He got Joyce Meyer, and in the beginning she was a hot mess. She needed a lot of help everywhere. And so I think that's really, really tough. That's definitely not for everybody. And for me, I mean, like, if I see a red flag, I would really consider like just ending it, because it seems like in dating, okay, if you could see it in dating, first of all, don't be blind. Because when people are so in love, like, you don't even see anything, and everything is just all good and positive.
We'll get to that moment, and then we'll talk about it.
Oh, man.
We'll wait for that moment.
We rebuke you, brother.
But that is interesting, though. In the dating process, everything is so cute.
Yeah.
And like
everything's
fluffy
exciting.
and
No, you
exciting.
see it, but you're willing to ignore it a lot of
Yeah,
times.
you're like,
You'll be like,
it's not that big of a problem.
We can
like,
fix
we
that. We can fix that.
we can live with
I'll
that.
live with that. I'll help him through that,
But we don't realize, like, in marriage, like, the problem just amplifies, doesn't it?
It does.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
So
Because now, like, because I think a lot of times, and I always say that, a lot of people when dating, you really start to see who they are after 90 days.